And now it's Renovate and Build. 60 minutes dedicated to building and renovating solutions. Here's your hosts, Jim and Sandra.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us on CIL 650 on this Saturday morning. We're excited to be locked in the studio for the next hour to talk everything construction. My name is Sandra Lummis, and I'm joined by my co-host, the founder and president of Fair Trade Works, Jim Perkins. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Sandra. Good morning, everybody. It was a chilly morning this morning.
No, nice morning to have a coffee.
Yeah, well, we've got our coffees here, but, winter's approaching, but things are still really busy at Fair Trade Works. Our phone is still buzzing off the hook. Lots of the pre-Christmas stampede where people are trying to get things done and scheduled and planned before everybody's families kind of arrives for the holidays. So it's
well, with the late start, I think back to school, people kind of delayed, and we had a nice late summer. I think people delayed thinking about winterizing their home, and suddenly it's like, oh, Christmas is around the corner, and so is winter, and I have to get everything done all at once.
I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, it was just with that even 2, 3, 4 week delay, it just kind of nudged everybody back, and there was a couple of nice weekends there. Oh, let's go, slow things down, and now it just seems to be a big stampede where people are trying to cram their projects in before the Christmas time, and also pre-plan for January, February, March, which we love, so we have time to actually get things organized and do it right. So
yeah, they're listening.
They're listening, yeah.
They're pre-planning.
I'm not sure they're listening to our show, but they're listening.
Well, today, Jim, our show focuses on new ways of thinking. The guests we have lined up are all out-of-the-box thinkers, and it's important for us to stress that in an industry like construction and development, it's been really hard to change people's ways of thinking. Some of these thought processes have been ingrained for a long period of time, sometimes hundreds of years. So not only for the industry itself, but for consumers to think differently about construction and development is a new way of thinking for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. And I know since starting Fair Trade Works and trying to change the platform of construction and how it works for both trades and professionals, clients alike, there's certainly been some pushback, things like, that's not the way we do it, and we've been doing this for years and years, and especially with the older generation, it's interesting when you introduce something new that some people just don't adopt it and say, no, it's been working fine, it's been fine, why are you trying to make a change, right? So it's been really interesting kind of having that feedback come through and answering those questions and countering it and those kind of debates. So it's fun pushing back the old ways and bringing in the new. So.
Well, let's see if our guests today have received some of the same feedback and pushback as you have in their attempt to create change. First of all, I should point out that we're going to be joined by an inventor today, a real creative thinker who has developed gadgets that many of us have used in our home improvement projects. His name is Andrew Dewberry, and we'll be speaking with him later about how his mind works and how he got started in his very interesting career.
And let's not forget the mind of Orion Henderson, the Director of Energy Planning and Innovation at UBC. He'll be sharing some incredible information with us about UBC's sustainable projects. Sandra, UBC is on the forefront of eliminating greenhouse gases, and they hope to completely eliminate the GHGs by 2050.
That is going to be an incredible feat if they can do that, because we know from just going through our Climate Smart program with Fair Trade Works how difficult it is to just reduce your waste. We know in office it can be one thing, but trying to control the homeowners, the construction industry is a whole other task. So you can imagine the size of UBC and trying to control.
Yeah, I think that was our biggest challenge. Internally, as you know, our results show that we did dramatically reduce our carbon footprint over the last year, 18 months, through adopting simple practices. But yeah, it's spreading that word and those practices and that education out into the the hundreds of people we deal with on a daily basis is the big challenge, and getting them into the routine. But yeah, we're making headway, so we're super excited and proud of that at Fair Trade Works. And Sandra, I know you don't have a dog anymore, so this product face-off won't really apply to you, help you at home. But for those of us who have pets, there's nothing better than having the convenience of a pet door, believe it or not. Megan Gary will buy this hour to discuss the latest in these new solution finds.
I actually can believe it, because your dog at the office spends more time with me than she does with you. And I can't wait to hear this, because I'm sick of running her out. And I know what I'm going to ask for Christmas. A pet door for the dog.
Or a gun to shoot that dog. People are funny when they meet me. When they come to the office, they don't expect me to have this little bundle of yappy, little annoying little Jack Russell, which I had. So it's always funny to see people's reactions. And everybody knows when they come to the office, every time the door opens, she barks, and she's just this most annoying creature. So I would love to have a little pet door at the office to kick a little butt out of into the cold. So
from Ace the Wonder Dog to one of my favorite places to wander in the summer, Steveston. Oh, summer and Steveston. Joining us to talk about the latest in construction and development in his community is the founder of Big Fish Interactive, one of our connected, creative big brains, Andrew Reed. Good morning, Andrew.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi, thanks so much. Great to be here.
Nice of you to leave Steveston and come and be our neighborhood news reporter for the day.
So good morning, Andrew. And
Morning.
so what's I know you are the owner and CEO of Big Fish Interactive. What have you been up to? And give us a quick rundown of what you do at Big Fish.
Big Fish is a leadership training company, and we're actually in our 20th year of business, and we help companies and organizations of all sorts change into their new success stories. So if they've been around for decades and they just find themselves stuck or limited in either their growth opportunity or seizing the next change in the marketplace, we help them get there through leadership and managerial skills and that sort of thing, and also help them build and foster successful business communities that allow all elements of the community to thrive.
Yeah, I know Andrew's a real humble guy, and just so your listeners know, he has trained many Fortune 500 CEOs and traveled the world, so he's definitely a big brain and definitely helped me out with some strategic and kind of tactical approaches to getting my business up and off running and helping me get to where I am today. So.
And here I am stealing him as a neighborhood news reporter. Well, you live in a great part of the city.
Yeah.
Is there a lot happening there?
Well, it's the quietest place around after 6 p.m. when everybody's sort of home in their nests having dinner. It's a wonderfully quiet place, and my young family and I were living in Kitsilano for a number of years. Loved it there, but really loved being on the waterfront in Steveston, and it's just a different feel. And you've got the historic community site there, and so on. So it's fantastic. So. But it is interesting being sort of fresh eyes in the neighborhood, because it's an old neighborhood, obviously. It's a historic site, and then you've got a lot of new development that's happened in recent years. And so that place has changed and grown very dramatically, especially in the past 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, it's a funny. I know Stevenson. I actually used to live there a long time ago when I came to Canada, but it's an interesting place. And actually, funny enough, some people don't even know where Steveston is. People lived in. I've spoken to people who lived in Vancouver all life. Oh, I was at Steveston on the weekend. Steveston, where's that? But it is this gorgeous little community.
Little enclave.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't even feel like Richmond. Well, not that there's anything wrong with Richmond. I get myself in trouble there, but it's just this community-based was a sleepy kind of little fishing town and kind of beachfront community. But I've done quite a bit of building down there and development and renovation, you name it. But it's just this lovely little quaint neighborhood. A lot of subdivision, a lot of new construction. It's safe, it's clean, and you come across living down in Steveston, come through into Richmond, into Vancouver. If the traffic's not bad, 10-15 minutes, you're into Vancouver. You don't have to cross any major big bridges, and it's just. I think there's a lot of people know about it moving there, but I still think it's a sleeper. I still think there's room for. I still think it's going to grow over time.
Yeah, and I think that the people that move there are invested for the long term as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just such a great place to be, and certainly it's accessible to both the Vancouver and the Richmond business markets that are thriving. But it's a nice little oasis to disappear to at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Before we went on air, we were talking about a bit of a hot topic there. Do you mind elaborating on that a little bit?
Yeah, and I'm certainly no expert on this, so and I not taking sides, but just from a fresh eyes in the neighborhood kind of perspective. Every day I walk my sons past the waterfront in Steveston, and I see the empty commercial developments that are facing the water, and these really well designed buildings, beautiful buildings, but they're sitting empty. They've got occupied condos on the second floor, but the main floor that was designed for either commercial or retail space has been sitting empty for quite a while, from what I understand. And so that's sort of the people that have lived there for a while. That's kind of the hot topic.
Right.
And so you just need to walk along that boardwalk on any day to hear people still talking about it, because when you walk by it, it's like, why is this beautiful place empty, and why what else, what was supposed to happen and what is yet to happen, and so on.
Yeah, do you know a little bit about the plan there, a bit of history?
Just a little bit, and again, it's more just in conversations and a bit of reading I've done on it. But it's I guess the Development Corporation several years ago had it zoned for marine commercial use on the ground level, and then residential above, sort of that combined usage. And then for whatever reason that didn't work out. And then I believe last April and last May, they had reapplied for another zoning change so they could put in some retail space. And so there's been some pushback. Some other stories that I've read and people I've talked to have just talked about how the kind of a missed opportunity for the real community engagement, because if you ask people who live in the area what kind of retail space do they want on the waterfront, they may not even want any retail space. Maybe they do, but they got some pushback on some surveys that they did in the community because it had a bit of a slant to it, a forced outcome. But there's plenty of people in the area that'd be happy to talk about their version of their story of what they like to see in Richmond, and there's tons of potential there for all sorts of opportunities.
Yeah, because that's the area where traditionally was where you used to go and buy fish and prawns. Yeah, I've been down there. It is a funny little area. It's quaint and it's cool, but then there is some sprawling buildings, and I know Oni own that stuff, and they're just trying to unlock it into something with possibly not the community's kind of wish in mind, right? So
yeah, and I think that's the best way to slow down a project, right? Is when you don't properly engage the people that it's going to affect, and it's sort of Steveston's sort of the small town feel in the big city environment, and again, I know people have been there who grew up there in that area and are still there, and they've bought the next version, the latest version, and developments and so on, and young families like mine that come in and invest, we plan to stay there a long time. And so it's when you ask the right questions and you get the really authentic answers from people, and it's hard if you're a developer or trying to open a business in that area to please everybody, because you've got multiples of things to respond to, and yet there's still an opportunity to do it right. Yeah.
You're right about it. It's probably one of the smallest, tightest, oldest communities that are, whether you go to Richmond, Kitts, whatever. But Steveston is extremely original, and there's still. But where do you move from Steveston? There isn't actually options. If you're born and raised there, and you like the lifestyle, and you like the lot size, and your friends and family are there, there's not really an alternative after Steveston, right? Like it's because it is a gem, right? So yeah, it's interesting, and they take it as it's almost like Steveston. We're not Richmond, we are Steveston, and we have an opinion about it, right? And we're not going to let that go, right? So,
Strong identity.
Strong identity. There you go.
Yeah.
What else is happening in your backyard?
Well, you just need to take a stroll to notice that along the Dyke Road and so on, there's some newer developments going up, and to me it's really encouraging. Some people are, people who have been there a long time sometimes don't like developments in general, but things need to change, and buildings need updated, and people want to live there, and there's a lot of commerce that comes into the area, and a lot of good things that happen. So there's always something going on, and but even on the weekends though, I just noticed that there's not a lot of construction happening on the weekends, so there's still sort of this, from what just again, my observation, respect for the preserving that nice waterfront experience even on weekends for people.
Yeah, it's good. Well, I've actually worked for a builder. I'll shout him out, Doug Lone of Pacific Coastal Homes, who's actually a Steveston resident, all-time Steveston resident. He's a builder there, and he really is in tune with this community. And I've probably worked on, I've known him for 5, 6, 7 years, and I've probably worked on 20 or 30 homes with him. And he's a local builder. He's in the community, builds good quality homes. So it's kind of cool that those kind of citizens can stay in their local communities. And I always say that, come to West, come to build it. And he goes, no, I build in Steveston. My developments are 5 minutes down the road, and he's loving that lifestyle, right? And he sells his homes. He does a good job, and it's kind of cool. And he keeps his sites tidy and doesn't work on the weekends. And it's just kind of still got that kind of earthy feel about it. And I know
respect for your neighbors too.
Respect for your neighbors, yeah. Like the subdivision, of course, a lot of big old lots down there in Steveston, and obviously it's fairly easy to subdivide down there. So it is getting a little bit more dense down there, but I don't think it's anywhere near capacity, and still keeps its still keeps its feel. So
well, you can still pick your own blueberries just a couple of blocks away, because it's right on the edge of beautiful farm country and so on as well. So
it's cool.
Well, thanks very much for joining us today,
Thanks
Andrew.
for having me.
The next time you come, could you please bring fish?
Yes, absolutely. With blueberries.
We've been joined by Andrew Reid of Big Fish Interactive today, and of course our latest neighborhood news reporter. If you'd like to contact Andrew for Steveston news, you can email us at radio@fairtradeworks.biz.
Just ahead on Renovate and Build Product Face-Off. Today, Meg and Gary are going to be sharing their insight on pet doors.
And coming up right after the break, UBC has some lofty sustainability goals for the future. We'll be hearing all about them and how they're going to achieve them right after this. Stay with us.
There's still lots more ahead. This is Renovate and Build, powered by Fair Trade Works with Jim and Sandra.